Hello and welcome to this New Year's edition of the Comedy Slab. I'm Shane O'Connor, he's Adrian Lacey. We've done all the checks pre-recording for this podcast. We just made sure that all the recording equipment's working correctly. Headphones are in tip-top condition and working A1. The boiler's off. We've turned the boiler off at Adrian's end, otherwise that makes a noise. The fridge off as well, Aid? Has that gone?
Well, I don't risk it, really, because I'm chilling my tonic for later.
That's not a euphemism, is it? No.
Thank you, Colin Holt.
I've left my dressing gown open because I'm chilling my tonic for later.
What an image.
If you've not caught up with us before, you mad, impetuous fools, what are you doing here this time round? We're a podcast that likes to look at comedy. I think that's the best way to describe us. Every week we choose a comedy between us. He'll choose one week, I'll choose one the following week. We'll play 3 clips throughout the podcast and we'll tell you what we thought of it. And very often people will get in touch and tell us what they think of us, which is lovely. But it's a good job we're not sensitive souls, isn't it, really? It was my turn to choose last week, but before we head on to that, because it's like kind of the end of the year and it's the New Year edition, I did wonder whether would it be a bit brave of us to have a look back at the year and choose a favourite each?
I think it's a great point of punctuation to do that, but whether I can give you the definitive answers you're looking for, or highs and lows kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, the good thing about it is that you don't have to. Well, I suppose the whole podcast is like this, isn't it? You don't have to please anybody but yourself, I was going to say. It is completely subjective, isn't it? It's like, what was the one... We were forced to watch all of these for making the podcast. What was the one that was either that, you kind of came away thinking, oh, that really was great. And when I was looking at that, I thought, I wonder if it's worth looking at the ones and thinking, oh, the ones that we thought were blooming awful, or what a disappointment.
Do you want to go first?
Okay. I only say that because I was looking through the list and I thought, oh, that was a disappointment.
No, you were looking at a picture of me.
No, it was a mirror, it turned out. How weird was that? Favourite first, then?
God, I do find it so hard. And if I was ever asked to judge some kind of competition, I'd really not want to use the phrase, well, there were so many great entries and it's so difficult to choose.
They were all lovely.
Yeah, all that nonsense. But there certainly were loads of corkers. How do I pick one out? I mean, I could go for the safe option, but that doesn't tell us much. I mean, Stuart Lee I love, my favourite stand-up, so I was always going to love slabbing, and anyway, I suggested it, Stuart Lee's comedy vehicle, which is way back when, episode 6, if people want to backtrack.
Was that weighing as your favourite though, would it, do you think? Or
well, no, that's the thing. I'm going up and down the list of shows. I mean, I really enjoyed Upstart Crow. Again, I chose that one, but it stood up, if anything, a bit better than I was hoping for.
See, that's not a bad thing, is it? The fact that, because I'm just looking at mine and I think I chose both of mine. So, I suppose, isn't that natural in a way, I suppose? I don't know that it was.
It's not surprising, but no. I tell you what it was. When if I'm thinking of what disappointments are, quite often it's your reaction is the disappointment.
Right.
Because I think, I'm going to get him this time. I'll win him over with this. And doesn't happen that often, if we're brutally frank.
No. But then equally, I have the same thing with you where I think, I think he's going to like this because it's really heartwarming. And then you go, I thought it was really boring. So... yeah, I know what you mean. I've got one. I got mine down to 2.
Okay.
The one was Party.
Ah, yes.
Which I thought was just, I don't know, there was something special about it. It's got a special place in my heart. But I knew that going into the Comedy Slab, it was one I chose because I'd heard it and I thought, actually, that would be a good one to slab. I'd like to know what you think of it. And you quite liked it, didn't you? I think actually, Party.
Yeah. That's a discovery you've helped me make. Actually, I think we confessed it predates the Comedy Slab even.
Yeah.
You were so enthused about it. You steered me to it sometime before we even started this review podcast.
Yeah, I must admit, I've been a big fan. So it was between that and the complete lucky dip out of the bag. I literally was just browsing through the internet and saw, was it the Mind of Herbert Clunkerdunk?
Yes. Well, I was going to say, if I have a favourite, it would have to be that. And so, yeah, all credit to you on that one. Although there obviously was the element of chance, because that's one you chose, obviously, and I didn't. So I'm a convert. And again, regular listeners will know if I say I then had to watch the whole series, even though they're only short episodes. I mean, I'd highly recommend it anyway, or Pepsi's iPlayer. But I had to see the whole series and pilot straight away. So, yeah, well done on that one.
But the fact that they were short episodes, only 15-minute episodes, I think made it even more appealing, didn't it? And made it more likeable and faster paced. And I just think it added to it, really. But and I'll be honest, and I looked at the graphic for it, and I thought it was a kids' program at first. Because he got the kind of plasticine face things on and the bulging eyes and all that sort of stuff that he did. If I had to choose out the two, then I would probably say for the year, because it was kind of a Comedy Slab discovery, as it were, I'd have to go for Herbert Clunkerdunk as my favourite for the year.
Well, I'm going to agree with you on that one. Yeah, that is the one.
Would you pick that as well?
Yeah, defo.
Oh, wow. That was... I'm amazed at that. That's the first time we've agreed in it.
In the spirit of unity and bringing the nation back together for the new year.
All right.
Let's
biggest
go for
disappointment then, if that's the
biggest disappointment. Wow, that is complicated. I keep scrolling. I've been quietly scrolling up and down the list of shows, as in our Comedy Slab shows, but looking at the individual episodes. I suppose there was, if I'm honest, but I wonder. I haven't gone back to listen to my verdict. But I wonder whether I want to revise my verdict of Alan Partridge this time around.
This is freaky.
Is that going to be yours?
Well, I got it down to 2 again.
Yeah.
And my 2 were, this time with Alan Partridge, hugely disappointed by that. And the other one was it Don't Hold the Sunset or something...
with
John Cleese.
John Cleese, yes.
Which promised so
Hold
much.
the Sunset, yeah.
Hold the Sunset, yeah. Which promised so much and delivered so little, didn't it? I remember we were so deflated at the time reviewing that.
But it might have been a mis-selling thing, and I can't remember if I said it at the time because this is going way back when, isn't it? Episode 3. Oh, actually, that's more than a year ago.
Oh, that was the other side of the cut-off, wasn't it?
Series. Yeah.
Oh, so there's only one then for me.
Yes, of course, I forgot. Cut-off was episode 25. Anything higher than 25, that's the beginning of 2019.
Yeah.
Which was Please Like. But fair point, yeah, if we were going back to the whole series of Comedy Slab, that would... have to be there. I have to say, I was slightly infected by your disappointment about Alan Partridge this time with Alan Partridge.
Were you?
Yeah, and on revisiting it in my mind, I thought, yeah, perhaps I was a little too generous at the time, and wouldn't do so well. But to be fair, disappointments can only be in proportion to expectation, can't they? So it could sometimes we have arguably an unfair expectation, but then of course we have been both huge Alan Partridge fans, being sometime local radio presenters. You know, it's kill or cure. Whether you're going to like Alan Partridge, it's too close to the bone very often if you're working local radio.
It's difficult for it not to be group therapy, isn't it, really? So, and don't write in and say it's racist because it isn't.
Hot topic.
So, how weird is that? 12 months, and we're actually in agreement despite all the disagreement throughout the year.
Amazing.
You were saying about the discoveries and stuff like that, and turning you onto things that you didn't think about. And I've got to say thanks to you as well, because I was just looking down the list, and I was thinking people that I'd never come across before. Terry Alderton, who I thought was quite a funny guy.
That was a find. Not dissimilar in style to Mind of Herbert Clunkerdunk.
The kind of manicky sort of way, yeah.
Yeah.
Alex Edelman, who was very Woody Allen-like, wasn't he? I remember thinking that was quite an interesting find there. Jeff Norcott, another comedian who I'd never come across before, the Slab. And I think that's about it actually for the year. Yeah, I think we're popping back into the. In fact, Jeff Norcott was last year as well. That's cheated a bit.
Was he? Yeah. And my Stuart Lee was thinking about it. But anyway, we managed to agree on a couple of things from this year.
Well, should we round off the year on a high then and give this a 10 out of 10 that I've chosen for us this week?
Before even reviewing it?
Yeah, let's just give it 10 and go down the pub, shall we?
Oh, okay.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Ta-ra. Such is our commitment to your listening pleasure.
All right, so I'll give you a bit of a flavour for what we were talking about this week then. It's one, I'm guessing you're no stranger to this, Adrian. Plebs, it's called, on ITV. I presume you'd heard of it, you'd seen it, you'd seen mention
only heard of it, that's all. I think I just caught trails on maybe on Sky.
Right. Okay. It was interesting actually. It's the product of Tom Basden again.
Your hero.
Talking about, yeah, I do. You just tend to crop up a lot. I'm not stalking him, I promise. But I just like the stuff he's doing. But this is co-written, isn't it? Sam Leifer and Tom Basden have co-written and created this, and it's set in the Roman Empire. And it follows 3 guys. I think there's 4 guys now actually in the latest series because they're on series 5 at the moment. But I'll be honest with you, I've only kind of caught up with the first 3 series, and I've only seen the 3rd series in patches where it's got the cast that we're talking about in this episode in. Although I think they've lost Joel Fry, who plays Stylax, the curly haired guy.
We saw him in another show, and you're a bit of a fan of him, aren't you?
Yeah, he saved Trolleyed in the early days. He was in the supermarket comedy Trolleyed for Sky. Anyway, so these 3 guys living in Rome, and just it's about their life really and their day-to-day stuff. The interesting thing I think with this is the music soundtrack, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little while. So forgive the clips. Because the clips have ended up having to encompass some of the music, because otherwise this music comes blaring in, you don't know what's going on. And to be honest with you, the music soundtrack is, in my opinion, pretty great anyway. So should we have a quick clip and have a quick listen and see, get an idea for the flavour of it. This scene, which is quite near the top of the show, after the music comes in and finishes, we catch the guys, Marcus and Stylax, heading off on their way to work.
Yeah. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Far from home, all I got is you.
How can anyone be too safe? That's like a toilet being too clean. I think she's going to dump me.
Hey, whoa, no, you'll win her round. Just give the girl a bit of danger.
But I am terrible at danger, though. Maybe I'll take her on a mini break to Tuscany. There are some fairly hazardous hill walks.
Yeah, that might not cut it, bro.
Oh, so what do I do? Buy her a pet crocodile? Push her down a well?
Yeah, holy Jove, God of thunder.
What?
There's a hottie in the office. Finally. I was beginning to think it was company policy that female staff had to be total gorgons.
Apart from Flavia, of course.
Oh, yeah, but Flavia's senior management, so that comment obviously doesn't include her. Oh, hey! Hi, Flavia.
A bold but unconvincing recovery, Shredder.
Yeah.
You've noticed Pandora, then?
Pandora? Oh, her over there, yeah, I can see her now. She knew then.
Indeed she is. The board are planning to fast-track her.
As is Stylax, I expect.
Well, she's been selected for her intelligence and good judgment, so I can't see that happening.
Oh.
You want a headline?
Yeah, can we?
As ever, I only thought while the first clip was playing, oh, he wants a headline. And for some reason, what came to mind was Plebs, Schmebs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not good, is it?
It's not wonderful. I don't know if because I was trying to find something else that rhymes with plebs that perhaps didn't sound quite so downbeat. I don't have a strong feeling against it, but neither do I have a strong feeling for it. It was a pleasant half hour. This is now a sprawling headline as opposed to Schmebs. And do you know what it was? I was thinking while I was swimming the other day, I have some of my clearest thinking, possibly only brief clear thinking of the week when I'm swimming. And I thought, the problem with it is there's no subtext, there's nothing else going on beyond the surface. And that needn't be a huge deal. And there were probably loads of comedies. Again, people might be shouting at us. There's loads of comedies in that category, so why pick this one out? I don't know. Maybe it's because I want to have higher expectations of these shows. As we know, expectations can lead to disappointment. High expectations.
So, what you wanted more depth of plot or character? Did you think?
Yeah, good question.
Because the characters are quite flat, aren't they? They are. I would agree with you there. They're quite one-dimensional. In fact, the plot isn't exactly rocket science, is it? But yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Which one is it, do you think, out of the two, or is it both?
That's a very good question. I hadn't got that far. I should have an answer for you, shouldn't I? I mean, I think the two are generally intertwined. You probably can't have a really sophisticated plot if you've got slightly flat characters.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the fact they've gone back in time, and again, this comes back to expectations, whether realistic or too high. But I somehow think if they've gone to that trouble to go back in time, I thought they'd want to make a statement about Roman times, or more to the point, as these shows often do, make a statement about our own times through looking through the lens of the past. And some people might think, yeah, that is being a bit unreasonable. Hey, relax, it's a sitcom. But I think it made me think, right, they've gone back to the past for a specific reason. And then actually what they do is a lot of the humour, I'm sorry to say really, because I did, as so often, wanted to like it more. But I felt a lot of the humour, it's a sort of one gag show. Oh, how can we laugh at our own times in a way without shedding any particular insight on modern times, but there's a lot of anachronisms, aren't there? And the language, like hey bro, that sort of thing, or a little reference to technology. The hottie, so-called, talks about ping me a. She doesn't say email, obviously, but ping me a message or something. Ping me something when you wouldn't say ping.
You wouldn't have picked up as well, but you're right. I mean, there's. I don't know if you noticed that Stylax's boss, Duma Keegan's character, called him Shredder.
Yes.
Because that's his job. That's what he does. He sits there and rips up pieces of paper. Yeah, he's the office shredder. So, yeah, it's that kind of modern technology versus old technology. Here's one for you then. This has been really mean now. I'm really taxing you. Frankie Howard in Up Pompeii, more or less sophisticated.
Well... Because very good question. I like the way you put me on the spot. Yeah,
I was going to say that did what you were talking about, didn't it? He kind of cross-reference between Roman times and what was happening now.
Oh yeah, and that is that's definitely part of the humour of it, a big part of it. I think more depth. I think firstly, I thought Frankie Howard, as an individual, he was a very intellectually curious person. Apparently, he'd
take anyone home with him.
Well,
to pump them for whatever information he could. Yeah,
leave it. Well, I did know someone who ended up. Oh, was that him? Oh, yeah, who ended up. I think a colleague worked with him, so he's obviously going back quite a time, and he was a little forward, Mr. Howard, as my friend went to the dressing room to tell him it was nearly time for him to appear on set or something.
Oh,
anyway, we can just leave that there, pull a veil over it. But I definitely know in a stand-up routine what's coming to mind, Lee.
Although how your friend would wish you'd have just pulled a veil over it and everything would have been fine. But yes.
A very dark veil, hopefully. so not too much would show through. But I know in his stand-up routine, Frankie Howard, for instance, referred to Harold Pinter, and I remember him getting a big laugh over a line about Harold Pinter. And the point was the audience, I don't think necessarily had read Harold Pinter, but the point was they knew of Harold Pinter.
Right.
And so they got the gag. They knew enough about Pinteresque dialogue. I remember my dad referring it to it over the dinner table literally decades before I even saw Harold Pinter play. And I'm not that up on Pinter by a long chalk. But so, yeah.
It wasn't leave a note out for the milkman, leave us one extra pinter, was it? It was
Drink a pinter day. Very good. I remember I did a Wogan with Frankie Howard guesting on, and he was brought on in a sedan chair, and he shouted back as they kind of landed him on stage, as it were. He said, "Get back to Aida," and off they went. So, yeah, and I'm going to throw this to you now while we're on one of our little side alleyways. Do you remember what the writer of Up Pompeii with Frankie Howard had written previously? What was he most famous for?
Oh, dear.
A run of, not just a one-off show, but a run of a whole form, a whole subgenre, or a whole, what would it be, a brand, a strand? Help me out here.
I can't think who it would be. I'm trying to think. Was it Barry Cryer? Was it Barry?
I can't remember the name, but he'd written. It's what he'd written that he's very well known for.
No, go on.
The Carry-Ons.
Oh, it wasn't Gerald Thomas, was it?
That sounds about right, I think. You're more. I just couldn't. I hadn't committed the name to memory, but
was he a director? I can't remember. But yeah. Oh well, I didn't know it was
so
the same stable.
Movies, yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, it isn't. It's not Gerald Thomas. It's he's got a fabulous name.
Talbot Rothwell is that lovely name you're trying to think of. The writer of Up Pompeii.
Yeah.
What a name.
Yeah.
Sorry, back to what you were saying.
No, I was just thinking Chelmsford 1, 2, 3, which was the Romans coming to England, wasn't it, and setting up camp in Chelmsford, and that was what I'm saying is this has been done before, hasn't it, as an idea, as a concept?
That's fine. Yeah, I'm not knocking it for that, because I'd hate to think that we wouldn't get loads more of these shows in the future. There's always space for them.
But in terms of the depth of it, though, it wasn't deep enough in that sense. You know why? What I think, and this is my own idea. I think that the reason that they didn't feel that they had to do that is two reasons. One, they got a great cast, and I mean, Maureen Lipman didn't come on. It's only 22 minutes long. She didn't appear until 16 minutes in, and then it was only for a minute, wasn't it? A minute and a half, and you kind of think you can afford to waste Maureen Lipman. That's awesome, isn't it? If you've got that good a cast. And
that's one way of reading it, or the other way of reading it is that was a terrible waste of Maureen Lipman. But yeah, carry on.
Yeah, and the other thing is the fact that they shot it in Bulgaria on what is essentially a film set,
right?
And so it looks fabulous. So you've got a great cast. It looks fabulous. Stick a few words in. They won't notice the difference. Long as everyone keeps moving about, we'll be sorted. sorted. Do you know what I mean? But I can't imagine Tom Basden being like that as a writer.
No. Do we know the co-writer is also the director, isn't it?
Yeah, there's the directors and producers, actually. There's a pair of brothers who own the production company, Edward or Teddy and Sam Leifer. The two guys. They own a company.
So they own Rise Films.
Rise Films, yeah, that's their company. I don't know. See, I thought, the gags. I thought the gags were there. The dialogue was good. it didn't strike me. I mean, with your words ringing in my ear now, if I go back and watch it, I might think actually, yeah, he's got a point. You know,
I wouldn't want to spoil it for you because you reacted the way you reacted, and then if it worked for you, that's fine. I'm not trying to rewrite your version of history.
You've ruined it now. Anyway, shall we have another clip? Here's another great piece of music. Great pop pickers. What did you think of the music before we go into the next clip?
I found it obtrusive.
Oh no!
I know.
Get my rifle, Martha.
Since when have you shacked up with Martha?
You are kidding me.
You can't decide whether it's Arthur or Martha.
Are you kidding me? Come on, don't distract from the fact that you think it was distracting. I think it's a genius idea to put early ska or dancehall, whatever you want to call it, as a theme for the music. I mean, that's just brilliant.
Well, it's another of the anachronisms, isn't it? And the truth is, if they put, quotes, authentic music, it'd be absolutely awful. You know, what kind of instruments did they have that far back? Actually, it would be awful, but it'd be very hard to relate to. I just found it, I understand what they were doing, and I understand that I look an idiot if I say, oh, but they come from a different period. And they're going to say, well, that's the joke, isn't it, Adrian?
But you see, I thought it was very bold and very clever at the same time, because if like the theme track when in Rome is really clever because it's a dancehall song.
But you had to know the title of it, which I confess I didn't until now. So.
But if you listen to the words, and he says the words are, "When in Rome, do as the Romans do. All alone, and all I have is you," and it's the song of a young Jamaican guy who's come to the UK.
Got it, yeah.
And he's saying, clever. "Oh, when in Rome, you have to do what that's what I've been told to do what the Romans do." And I just thought the connection
that is brilliant. It just shows what a lazy ear I've got when it comes to lyrics, which is terrible, really. I'm not proud of myself on that, but still, I just found that. There was too much of it. It was plastered. There was at least one point where one track went straight into another track. And I thought, hang on, am I listening to Radio 2 or am I actually watching a comedy?
I think that's my fault, actually. I think when I recorded it off the telly, I think that's where the break was. That's why it jarred from one to the other.
Oh, well, in which case you're awful.
Yeah, I am.
But I like you.
Well, anyway... I can't really argue with that, because just as to prove a point, let's play another clip which starts off with a piece of music.
Exactly.
And it's quite interesting because, again, the words fit. This is a cover of "I'm in the Mood for Love." You know, the old Liberace song. I'm in the mood for love.
I wish you wouldn't do that.
A lot of people say that, funnily enough. Anyway, Stylax turns up at work and gets collared by his boss, Flavia, straight after "I'm in the mood."
Yeah, all right. I wish you wouldn't do that. I don't know if you remember me saying.
I'm in the mood for love.
Morning, Shredder.
Oh, hey. Where is everyone?
Good question. No one seems to have shown up.
That's weird.
Isn't it? One wonders if it has anything to do with the memo you sent yesterday informing them there'd be an earthquake.
Well, no, that was meant as an invitation, not an outvitation.
Well, your outvitation has lost me my whole staff.
Not your whole staff.
No, a few of the keenest beans and saddest sacks have decided to brave it.
Morning, guys.
Oh, great. Hey, morning, Pandora.
So sorry that I'm late, but I've been at a breakfast networking event. Have a terrific day.
Yeah, let's really make it count.
I hope for your sake there's a catastrophic earthquake, Shredder, or you are so fired.
Okay. Fingers crossed.
Right, so we have Hot Totty at the desk. Sorry, there must be the right term I can use for... What's the character name?
Pandora.
Forgive me.
I'm surprised nobody used the
course.
obvious gag there, but there you
Well,
go.
I think we're meant to think of that, and we leave the box closed, probably.
Okay.
But I think that's a meta joke, maybe. Maybe there is hidden depth there that I'm missing. I certainly miss the... I'm ashamed missing the lyric about when in Rome. What else to say? Oh, yeah, a cracking cast. So Carl Theobald in there. Dune McKicken, you've already referred to. We heard her there.
Bless you.
Thank you. It's the way I tell them. Yeah.
To me, the star of the show, Ryan Sampson.
Hang on.
As Grumio.
Otherwise known as... Right.
All right, landlord.
Oh, no. He got him a wick.
Oh, he's
it was overplayed. I'm sorry to say. I know. We're not going to agree on this one, are we?
Do you know what? I even loved his face when he's not speaking. Because his face
is working so hard all the time. I felt.
I think he's just awesome. Landlord. And his haircut is just awesome. I appreciated him more when I saw him in something else, playing another character, and I thought, that's Ryan Sampson. And I hardly recognised him in something else because I don't know, it's so not like him. I just thought he was a great character. You didn't like that either.
Sorry, mate. Letting you down here, aren't I?
Well, at least the year's panning out as I expected it to. You got me hopes up right at the start.
Yeah. Well, there's sort of comfort in that, isn't there? That we know where we are.
So you didn't like the characterizations, didn't like the music, didn't like the storylines.
I'm not saying I didn't like the music. I just didn't like music in the context of the show. It's perfectly fine music.
Well, that's the only place you're hearing it, isn't it? The context of the show. I'm not asking you to go out and buy the album, which you can get, by the way.
On Radio 2 and hear it, every now and again.
Yeah, I have to say, that last track, I'm in the Mood for Love, there is a fabulous version of that by Jules Holland and JK from Jamiroquai. I thoroughly recommend you go out and buy it.
Which I may have heard.
Sorry?
Yeah. Which I may have heard. Yeah, they often do that at a hootenanny, that style of music, don't they? It's sort of ska thing. That's part of the Jules's calling card.
Yeah, he does like that kind of thing, doesn't he, really? I think...
he does.
It's ever since Jerry Dammers threatened to punch his teeth out. So, anything you did like? You didn't like Maureen Lipman?
I didn't say that.
She got an ology. I can't believe it.
God, you're going back. People will have to Google that, won't they? You're always nagging them.
Yeah.
Well look, production values. It's often the case that we're saying, perfectly. It's a quality product. So for all I've said, and people are free to ignore every last word, as I'm sure you do. It's just my view at this time.
The interesting thing we've learned over the last year as well is, and I've certainly learned this, is that you can, and I have, dislike programs, but still recognised that they are popular and will continue to go on to be popular. You can dislike something and still recognise why people like it, can't you? I think that's the thing.
Yeah, and I get that, and it's as I've said for other shows, putting to one side what I've kind of struggled to find something a bit deeper in it, which I just don't think is there. The upside of that is if you've had a stressful day at work, or at home with the kids, whatever you've been doing, long drive, life can be very stressful, and the last thing people want is to overthink while they're watching a comedy. And this would do the job very nicely. Wind down with a tinny.
What did you think of Tom Rosenthal? Did you have a view on him at all? The guy who plays the lead, Marcus.
I think I've just got a bit annoyed about this type of character, the sort of underdog trying to get the girl, doesn't quite succeed. At one point, he looks like he's on as it were, a winning streak, if I can use that phrase. But then, sure enough, an alpha male comes along and whisks the woman away from him. I just think that's I suppose we'd have to call it a meme these days, would we? I don't know. Yeah. But it's an overworked meme.
Was he better in this, do you think, than he was in... Because we slabbed him in Friday Night Dinner, didn't we?
Oh, right, yeah, and they're scrapping with his brother, his screen brother.
Yeah, which I couldn't really get on with very well.
I remember that well. What were you going to say that you thought
I think you liked it slightly more than I did, didn't you? But
I probably did, but it's one of those things when you can't unsee it. Once you'd opened my eyes to the slightly tedious thing, and I didn't believe the age gap, between their mother and them, and also you'd have to believe. I mean, we can all suspend disbelief, particularly if we like a show. We cut it loads of slack, don't we? But I just didn't. I didn't really believe in brothers at that age behaving like 5-year-olds when they were actually in their late 20s, early 30s.
So you liked him less in that than you did in this? Even less in that, yeah. Interesting enough, I don't know if you know his dad, actually. His dad is Jim Rosenthal, the football commentator.
Well, you mentioned that last week, but of course you're talking to me as if I understand the first thing about sports, and that would include not understanding the first thing about sports broadcasting. I'm sure I've seen him, and there's quite a strong physical resemblance, isn't there? Yes.
Oh gosh, yeah, ever so much. His dad actually started in the same place as I did in radio. He started I started at WM, as it was when I was there. But when he was there, it was Radio Birmingham. About the time, I think he was there around the time that Nick Owen was there.
Is he a Brummie himself, or he just happened to be in the?
No, he's an Oxfordshire lad. I think he's an Oxford United fan, which is why he's always got that kind of depressed glaze on his face.
Couldn't possibly comment, knowing nothing about sports, but I get the hint.
Yes. Should we have a final clip and just see another of the? We might be able to get some of the other reasons why you just hated this.
I didn't say I hated it. Yeah, you misquoted me. Yeah, you're going to set the scene.
I don't know whether it's worth it. Just have a listen. It's a load of old tosh. No, I will. It's a kind of, and he'll hate this, I know he will. I thought it was quite nice. It's a kind of recap roundup scene that they do at the end, which I thought that's quite quaint. You don't see that in modern comedy very often these days.
Oh, tying up the loose ends.
Yeah, kind of just a good way of just, like where all the characters sit down and sort of, review. Well, how was your day, everybody, kind of thing. It's that sort of thing, wasn't it, really? Anyway, the lads sit down, nothing's worked out for them, and the three of them sit down to meet up and compare notes.
She wasn't the girl for you. I've always said that. You like mini breaks, she likes earthquakes.
How was the office then? Did you manage to hunker down?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it wasn't quite what I had in mind, but I did do some hunkering.
Well, at least things worked out for one of us.
Hey up, look who it is.
Hey, so much for your giant earthquake.
Oh, yes, I know. The ants pass on their profound apologies. Some of their predictions are built on shaky ground, as it were. Oh, look. It's starting to rain. They did get one thing right.
Yeah, great, because things weren't enough already.
Hey up, that's not rain, mate. That's snow.
Oh, yeah! It's snowing! See? Things couldn't be any better.
You can get it if you really want.
See, that music was fading just as I was digging it. But, hey, I'm trying to be positive, but that's quite independent of its use. I suppose it went out on a high feeling.
God, you are clutching at straws, aren't you? Come on, that was classic comedy, wasn't it? She just wasn't the goal for you.
Yeah. I did see your reaction on Skype as we're hooked up.
My aunt's predictions sometime about earthquakes are on shaky ground.
Yeah, well, also, of course, we had a reference to that when there was a degree of hunkering. Did the earth move? Blah blah blah. Yeah, somewhat inevitably, and at least they had the decency to spin it around, and it was about the Dune character. Is it Flavia?
Yeah.
Saying the earth didn't move, but if you'll pardon the expression, I saw that coming a mile off.
Do you think? Oh, does this ever happen? I mean, I just wonder if you've got a writer who writes quite sophisticated gags, and you're writing for an ITV 7:30 in the evening audience. Do you think they ever kick it back into the long grass and go, can you just make it a bit more tabloid?
Well, as in the script editor might say that to the writer.
Yeah.
I'm sure it happens. All these things have happened, and presumably the reverse can happen. Oh, we're Radio 4. Could we have a a little less toilet humour and a bit more
Knob
Harold
gags.
Pinter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
I'm going to bleep you
No, I
bleeping
remember
bleeper.
door handle gags and stuff like that about, faders.
Obviously.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, I just wondered. I just kind of think, because it doesn't strike me as Basden's natural territory for writing.
Well, this is a slight digression, but since you've raised the name of your hero, I thought he underwrote for himself, really.
Yes.
In fact, I didn't spot it was him. I thought, well, I'm sure Tom Basden was in that. And which character was he? Well, this is after the first viewing, without any cheating. Well, at least we agree on something about this show.
Well, there were the two, really, actually. There was Tom Basden, you kind of think completely underutilised. And we touched on it before, Maureen Lipman. I mean, you've got a great character actress like Maureen Lipman. What are you doing putting her in for like 25 seconds?
She does reappear a bit later on in the cart, doesn't she? But that's all a bit whoops, misses. I'm sorry, I fell on top of you.
Yeah. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand what... I mean, I know she's a cast member and appears throughout the series. But I kind of didn't understand why... I mean, maybe she wasn't available, because, to say, they did film this in Bulgaria, didn't they?
I was going to say, maybe she had a dental appointment and she said, oh, just give me a 5-minute job this time and I'll be off. Off to the Bulgarian dentists.
It's interesting. I'm just thinking I shouldn't have expected that you would have liked this anyway, really, because you've not... Whenever I've sort of suggested Tom Basden stuff, you've never been that chuffed. I mean, he was in The Wrong Man's, wasn't he?
Yeah, I can
You
be
didn't
a bit
like
underwhelmed. Yes, I won't bore people with the details. Again, I've got nothing against the guy, and I acknowledge it's like you were just saying before that clip or so. It's possible not to like something, or to like to warm to an actor, or perhaps are we warming or failing to warm to the character they're playing rather than the actors themselves. But to respect what they do, and it's perfectly professional, of course, what he does. I did think of something briefly then, and it's just wanged its way out of my head.
Number wanged its way.
Number wanged its way. Yeah.
Maybe I should just find something. If I keep finding stuff that he's written and just keep...
Oh, I know what it was. Yes. Can you think of another time travelling or anachronistic type show we've slabbed before?
Yes.
And I would put them in the same category, because that one didn't have an awful lot going on.
That didn't work for you either, did it? Zapped.
No. Zapped indeed, yeah. I very early on in my first viewing of this, I thought, just what is the name of that show that I can't quite remember, but I didn't go a bundle on. Yeah.
Strange, isn't it? I got this theory. If you're a regular listener to the Comedy Slab podcast, you'll probably know that I got this theory about him, that he doesn't like things that stray out of reality. But I wouldn't have included
that was your theory
history
at the time,
in that.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to refine that to, I just think he doesn't like things.
Well, look, I've got 2 words for you to respond to that. I've also got 2 digits I could offer you, but I won't.
Yeah.
And they are Herbert and Clunkerdunk. I mean, if you think I think that's realism, my favourite show that we slabbed of the whole year is about as surreal as they come. So I'm afraid I've somewhat demolished that argument.
Isn't that a further step though? It's like you've got unreal, and then beyond unreal is surreal.
Oh, splitting hairs that neither of us can afford to split.
And then beyond that, there's dancing. It's an Irish reel. And then,
very good.
And then after that, it's a fishing reel.
Yeah, right. That's enough reels, Ed. I was going to say, if you're splitting hairs, then it's gone now. I'd have to comb through my memory for that one. No, yet another thing.
Oh dear, I'm almost dreading coming to the stage where I ask him for the numbers now, but we've got to do it. It's the last one of the year, and I kind of get the feeling that I know where you're going to be at with this. I'll be honest with you, I was never going to set it online myself, but anyway, go on, give us your numbers for the out of 5. What do you think?
Well, I think it has to be a 2.5, which for you is is not the least generous you've been. But for me, because I think I play a bit more good cop to your bad cop when it comes to scoring, if I'm not getting on with something. Yeah, and I've kind of factored in good production values and all of that. I mean, and some good gags, and certainly some good actors. Looks good, etc., etc. But yeah, I cannot be more generous than that. But neither do I want to be more mean than that.
Is it because it's ITV?
I had forgotten it was ITV. No, this is how innocent I am. I was struggling to think. When I said it was Rise Films production, I thought, what came next on the credit? No, I'd completely forgotten, to be honest.
No, I'm only kidding you.
I know, you're pulling my leg.
I thought you were going to give it 2, so that was half more than I thought it was going to get, so that's not bad. I, in return, will give it a 3.
Only a 3?
Yeah,
so we're only half apart.
Yeah. I
thought you were going to go 3.5 min.
Maybe I should.
Well, just make your mind up, Tom.
Maybe I should. Okay, I'll give it 3.5. I mean, I do quite like it. I do take on board all that you're saying. I can't vigorously argue with a lot of what you're saying. Well, I can. I mean, I could argue day and night, but that's not the point, is it? I think there's a lot of merit in what you're saying, and it's interesting how you've kind of ruined it for me because I never noticed.
I didn't go out to do that.
No, you stayed in to do that.
I stayed in at the end of a Skype line.
It would have been nice if you hadn't gone out, I think.
Yeah. I should have gone out and just not been in when you Skyped me.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe. I mean, it'll still remain probably a guilty pleasure then in that sense, you know, but I kind of, when it's different, isn't it? When you're watching it and you're not watching it to critique it, you're watching it to just either enjoy it or let it wash over you or just use it as a bit of escapism. It's a different ball game entirely, isn't it, really? And I think you can enjoy stuff in that sense. So, 3.5 from me then. 3.5. So, what's that? 6 out of 10 for Plebs. You can catch it on the ITV player and all the other places as well. And I think you can actually get the previous series. For some reason, I think... Oh, no. The series after this, series 4 and 5, for some reason, are available on Amazon.
Right.
But 1, 2, and 3 aren't. I don't understand. Must be some contractual thing there. I don't know. But anyway, I'll put a link in on the description with the podcast if you want to try and catch up with it. Otherwise, you could just type in Plebs and see you go. Anyway, that's it for the year, other than to get, obviously, our homework from Adrian to find out what we're going to be putting on the slab in the new year.
Yeah. Now, this is an interesting one because you will know the series... and I suspect you might have been your usual completist self. So I'm going to hazard that there's more than an even's chance that you have seen this. I haven't, because I watched a few in the first series, was disappointed compared to high expectations which came from a completely different series. There's no way you're going to guess what show I'm talking about, I don't think.
Well, not from which series you watched, am I? I mean, give us a fighting chance, will you? Now, can you guess what this is? I watched episode 4, but then I didn't watch episode 6 because I did the washing up. Unless I've actually got a spy cam in your house, I've got no chance, have I?
Well, my first is in. Do you want a telegraph cryptic crossword clue? I'll cut to the chase and say, and then you say the star guest, and then you may race to the conclusion, because he can't have been in that many shows of this nature, namely of a comedic nature. If I tell you it stars David Bowie, bless him.
Oh, yeah.
What's it have to be?
Extras.
Absolutely. Knowing what a bore you are.
Actually, I got it from when you did the washing up in episode 4.
That's because that spy cam you've got in my house. It's called Skype. I'm amazed I let you into my world.
Funny little fat man. Is that the one?
Sitting on a cupcake. That's me doing a bad impersonation of Phil Cornwall doing a fantastic impersonation of David Bowie. That's what you were doing, isn't it?
David Bowie in Extras. Have you ever seen that episode with David Bowie in it?
No, this is the...
Is that the one with Slab in?
That's what I'm putting on the slab, and I haven't seen it, no.
Oh, I shut my face then.
But I thought you were quoting the Phil Cornwall when he was a stand-up act he's an impersonator, and I haven't seen it for yonks, and then he went into straight acting, but he used to do a send-up of, "Where are my sausages?" So, anyway, doesn't matter. You will find it, dear listener, on a BBC iPlayer. Certainly within the UK, you might be in with a fighting chance. But anyway, his nibs, Shane, will put all the links up when we get to that. So, Extras Series 2, Episode 2, The One with David Bowie.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's a great way to start the new year, isn't it?
That's not bad. I would say that's a banker.
Fun,
as it were. Leave it. Was that pause for me to do anti-social media?
You can if you want. If you want.
Why not? Yes. So it is, surprise, surprise, at Comedy Slab on Twitter. That's where we reside on that particular platform. Do please follow us there. It'd be fantastic to have your following company. And we're very sparing with what we tweet, which means we only tweet stuff that we think you'll be particularly interested in. It's might be some real nice stuff sort of around the edges of what we do or related to what we do, or we follow various artists on Twitter that we particularly like. We're a kind of quality filter, I think, at Comedy Slab. Also, there's a Facebook page, similarly, at Comedy Slab, so if you could like that as well, that would be brilliant. And do please recommend us in person, over the phone, over Skype, FaceTime, in confessional booths around the world.
And don't forget, if you want to go to the back catalogue, maybe you got a new smartphone for Christmas and you're new to podcast and you think, oh, this is just fantastic. Is there any more like this? Well, yes, there is. There's another 75 episodes for you to go through. That's somewhere in the region of 70-odd hours of two blokes waffling about comedy. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. This is what you bought that phone for. Just be honest with yourself. You can catch us on Spreaker. If you go to Spreaker.com and just type in Comedy Slab, it's a great place to go because you can actually click a few buttons and it'll tell you when the next episode has landed, and you can download it from there and all the rest of it as well. We are on all the other places, Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and we've also got a little video thing going on YouTube as well. So you can catch us in all of those places as well, and hopefully you will. And as Adrian always says, if you like it, or even if you don't like it, but you'd like to inflict it on somebody else, then please do recommend, because we like to share the pain, don't we, bud?
We do. A problem shared is a problem squared, whatever the phrase is. Yeah. I was just thinking, as we head off into the sunset and start at the gate of a new year, as I think King George VI might have said once in a royal broadcast or something like that, we could quite easily rename the slab Plebs, couldn't we? That would kind of sum us up.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, well, you anyway, certainly.
Oh!
After tonight's performance. So that's it. Only remains for us to just say Happy New Year, of course, from the both of us. I hope you had a lovely New Year, and I hope you do have a lovely New Year. And I should be spending the rest of the evening trying to convince Adrian to rejoin his dressing gown so that he's not cooling his gin and tonics or whatever it was that he said. What was this? What was the
cooling my tonic?
Cockney rhyming slang.
I'm a geezer, that's why.
We're off to have our New Year's party now. I'm the entertainment. I'm in the mood for love.
Oh, please. Chilling.